See if it works this time. Come on. Zoom and YouTube, your friends. Be friends. Be friendly. You might work. I think it'll work this time. Maybe. Maybe not. Oh, maybe. Oh my God, I think it's working. I think it's working, YouTube. It did. Yes. Success. Thank you, Zoom and YouTube, for being so nice to one another and getting along. You screwed up my awesome intro from before. All right, it wasn't awesome. But anyway, it's Foggy Geezer Night. Foggy Geezer Night. Once again. Look at this. It looks like Ben. Just kidding. Hey, Ben's a Foggy Geezer or something. He's got his Ekis shirt on tonight. Ekis wedding shirt. Right? Yep. Is that from his wedding? Or yeah, okay. That's what I thought. Great wedding shirt. Great time to talk about Packers. Welcome in. How you doing? Only nice people allowed in our chat again. If something happens like last night, I will disable your ass. If you come in saying crap like the person did last night. That was some serious trash. You want to criticize me? I don't care. Or you want to talk trash about me or whatever, or Ben, that's fine. We don't care. But you come in like that person did last night? No. You're out of here. We don't put up with that crap around here. All right, but we are Ben. It's turned into like a he said. Now, Bernard brought it up last night in the chat, but I had not watched Brian Gutekunst's press conference from after Aaron Rodgers spoke. I watched the one from before Aaron Rodgers spoke, which was very different tone than the one after Aaron Rodgers spoke. And then Goody Squooty, man, he was he's kind of mad.
Yeah.
It wasn't being very GM like. He was being Goody.
I don't think he was that bad. What was the problem?
Well, he was mean to Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb's a nice guy.
He only spoke the truth. There is no reason. There is zero reason for Randall Cobb to be on this team. I'm sorry. Just like Aaron Rodgers' replacement is there, Randall Cobb's replacement is already there. And not only that, wide receiver is one of the deepest positions the Packers actually have. Now, it's not deep with outstanding players.
That's true.
But it's deep with very good players. And you just added another very good player. Except he's a very good old player. We have a lot of very good young players. So now, who's the guy who's left out off the team? Malik Taylor?
Funches.
It should be Funches and St. Brown should be gone. And Malik Taylor should be number 6.
St. Brown definitely should not be on.
But what about Reggie Bagleton? And there's another guy who they've been talking about. I can't remember what his name is. He's supposed to be really good. He's flashing in camp.
Nope.
He's going to be a practice squad guy. He'll probably get picked up by somebody.
None of those small guys are making it. I mean, none of those other guys that were kind of like not the tall guys. But I don't even think Funches will make it because it's like, I mean, let's be honest. The Packers had this weird stretch where all they had was super tall guys, and that was it for a while, for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And then they kind of morphed over, and then they drafted a true slot guy with Amari Rodgers. Now they got Cobb back, and it's like, okay, now we got a couple short guys. Malik Taylor's kind of a shorter guy, not super tall. But like a dude like Funches, he just doesn't have a place in this team. I mean, you would use him kind of in a way you'd use some of your tight ends, but you got way too many gifted tight ends that you've invested a bunch in. So Funchie, he's out of here. He's out of here. Sorry, bro.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, what Goody said is the truth. Hey, Aaron Rodgers wanted to speak all his truth for half an hour the day before. So Goody just spoke his truth too. He's like, hey, if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, Randall Cobb wouldn't be on this team.
Okay.
Now, he didn't say it like that. He just said we probably wouldn't have pursued Randall Cobb, is what he said. But either way, that's true. The other thing, the day before, he was pretty much, cool with everything. And Rodgers goes on there and pretty much says that he sucks.
Well,
but then he comes back the next day. What do you expect him to do?
Goody didn't agree apparently with all the other players that said they didn't like the way things ended or how they were communicated with, or I mean, come on. He
Okay,
can't dispute the dudes. He can't dispute the dudes that weren't even offered
70% of the guys Rodgers mentioned was not Goody. Hello.
Yeah, but he's
McFly.
been with the organ. Fine.
Doesn't matter. He wasn't in charge.
Okay. Don't tell me the guy who was the replacement when Ted Thompson was going downhill, right? And they knew mentally he was going downhill. Don't tell me some of those duties. Don't tell me he wasn't at least the Goody duties weren't increasing. And don't tell me that Goody wasn't involved and at least in the know in some of those guys' operations. Don't tell me that. Come on. You know he was.
He might have been.
Otherwise, he would have become the next
was
GM.
Was it his job? Okay, that's another thing I want to bring up because I was actually listening to PFF today, their Thursday podcast.
Okay.
And they were talking about a totally different team and a totally different thing. But they said something about scouts versus general managers.
Sure.
And the difference between a scout and a general manager. And they they were talking about Brian Gutekunst. They were talking about other people. But they were saying, hey, I mean, the general manager's job is to manage. Like he takes the information in from the scout, and then he has to, figure out what information is good. Look at all this, from the scouts, from the analytics. Also understand how to relate with players, understand how to relate with agents, and all that kind of stuff, right? And it was a very interesting thing that I, didn't think about. But if you look at Goody's drafting, for the most part, it's pretty good. As much as you give crap. I mean, come on, Jair, Jenkins, Savage, Gary. I mean, Love, we don't know what he is, but he could be good. AJ Dillon looks awesome. I mean, all of his first and second round picks. Compare that to Ted Thompson's first and second round picks. It's like a freaking miracle draft.
Or Ronnie Wolf's, for that matter.
Yeah, even Ron Wolf's drafts were crap. So
a lot of them. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know what else
Sorry,
to tell
Bernard,
you there.
No Mo tonight. Sorry, Bernard. He was supposed to be here, and then we got a text.
Okay, I'm in the middle of talking, so
I'm sorry.
We'll talk to Bernard after.
All right,
you got me going now. You got to had a whole night last night because you decided to go on without me like a big jerk face.
Oh, come on!
All right, Aaron Rodgers bullcrap.
Listen,
I'm in the middle of talking.
I invite you time and time again.
I'm trying to point out a very important thing.
Okay, you go ahead.
So Goody was a scout, and I think he's a very good scout. But he got promoted to GM. But his person skills, his people skills, his relation skills as a GM were not that great. And he's admitted it now, and he screwed up. But he can improve on those skills. So as much crap as everybody's given him, and I don't even like the guy, but when you keep giving him crap for stuff, take back and think about it, okay? He only has had the job for a couple years. He did his best. His first move was to sign Aaron Rodgers to a big, long contract. That was his first move. Okay? But if you remember correctly, when Mark Murphy hired Gutekunst, part of when he looked at all the different people, Elliott Wolf, Russ Ball, and everybody who was going to be the GM, he looked at he wanted them to show him their scouting on the Packers players over the last 5 or 6 drafts before that happened. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure that Brian Gutekunst's scouting reports on all the players were probably very much in line with how the players ended up being professionally. So some of them probably bad, like his Kevin King is probably like he stinks and all that kind of crap, right? We all know the Josh Jones fiasco and the Quentin Rollins and blah, 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 all that kind of crap. What I'm saying is this. He can improve and become a better GM with his communication skills. And he's learned and he's trying to be better. Just like Aaron Rodgers wasn't perfect. You mentioned it. He was 6-10 his first year as a starter. Okay. His defense was not that great, but he also wasn't miraculous. I watched his first game again the other day, his first game that he ever started in. He was not that great. They won, luckily, in the end, but he wasn't great. So everybody becomes better as they are in the job for more time. So I just wish, I mean, I don't know, just stop bagging on the dude. And the problem is when they asked Gutekunst, what's the relationship with Aaron Rodgers and him the day before Rodgers had his press conference? Gutekunst said, "Oh, it's professional. It's always been we've always had very professional relationship." When they asked Rodgers, Rodgers goes, I will say it's professional.
That is not what he did.
Yeah, it was. He was a freaking dick.
No,
he rolled his eyes. He was a butthole.
They asked him he rolled his eyes because they asked him a stupid question. They asked him a 2-part question. They said, "Did you request for Brian Gutekunst to be fired? And what is your relationship?"
Well, so the other way around. They asked it the other way around, and he answered it backwards. But that's fine.
He's like, "No, I didn't." No.
And then he went. Then he went. Well, this is what he did. He went. Well, I'll just say this. It's.
He did not say. I just say this.
Yeah, I did.
No, he didn't.
Something like that. I listened to it again today because I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on. Just stop bagging on the dude. It's bad enough. It's bad enough he screwed up and drafted Jordan Love. He screwed up.
Your point. Your point, for the most part, is very accurate. His drafts, other than 2020, have been good, and maybe 2020 some of the players are good. So, yeah, I also think he's pretty good. And I've said this before: let him draft. Just don't put him in charge of who we sign as free agents. But maybe what's happening, I don't know. We none of us know, right? But the only thing we do know is before this new coach and this new GM were in those positions, Mark Murphy restructured everything and put himself at the top, and everybody reports to him. Right? He's in charge. He needs to be more involved in football operations. That's what he said. So I'm assuming he did that with the approval of the board.
Why? He's the president of the company. He doesn't need to have an approval.
Well, the board needs to approve something like structural changes.
No, they just approve that what he does is like, I'm sure like they get the expansions done and stuff, but
I don't know. Anyway, the big deal is maybe this explains it. Okay. Maybe some of what's happening in terms of some of these players, the Packers are going after in free agency, some of the things they're doing, because the thing we've gone off on for a while and been really confused on and get frustrated by is like these things that don't mesh, like the plan isn't in place or the plan keeps conflicting or changing because you do one thing in free agency and then you draft players that then aren't going to play. Same thing a la Rashawn Gary after signing the Smiths. Same thing after this year. You got to sign Kevin King right away, but then you draft a cornerback in the first round. Like those things don't make
those
any
are
sense.
Dumb. I agree. They're
right.
Dumb.
So maybe there's two different people kind of pulling back and forth here. Maybe Murphy is wedging his way into like some of the free agency stuff and be like, "Oh, we got to get this guy. We got to sign that guy." You know, pressuring Gutekunst to do these things.
Okay. Now it's just speculating. The things I talked about are facts. The things you're talking about are speculation.
I'm trying to figure out how because there's no way Brian Gutekunst is saying, "Oh, this makes sense to me."
Maybe he is. Maybe he is dumb. I don't know. What I know is this.
All right, go ahead.
If with your job, if you had some guy, okay, let's say a project manager guy, came up to you and told you how you should do your interviews when you're promoting Project Home. Okay. And that project manager has been there for 20 years, and you've been at Project Home for whatever, 7 years, however long you've been there. And he's telling you how to do your job when he has no idea what's going on because he's never done that job. He's a great project manager, but he know jack squat about being a freaking PR dude. Wouldn't that kind of rub you the wrong way a little bit? And then everybody in the world is blaming you for something that's happening because he's upset about it. I mean, listen, I was actually surprised at how professional Goody's been up until this last one. And all he said was two things. He said Randall Cobb would not be here if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers. And the other thing he said was that he believes that Devonta Adams should be the highest paid receiver in the league, which I don't, but he does. But he said his idea of what the highest paid his idea what the highest paid receiver is and what our idea what the highest paid receiver is are two totally different things. And hopefully we can get that worked out, is what he said.
I don't know how that works, but there's some weird like thing with Hopkins.
The reason why is because Hopkins signed an extension. His extension gave him $29 million a year. But when you add it to his previous contract, it ended up only being like 22 million or 20 million a year or something like that. So at this point, Julio Jones at 22 million a year is technically the highest paid wide receiver.
That's way too much for a wide receiver, dude.
It is way too much, and it's dumb. And if they cannot pay Devontae Adams that much money. I don't care. I guarantee if he went on the open market, he would not make that much money unless it was a desperate, stupid team who has no idea what they're doing. Then they would give him all that money. But
who has a bad team that's looking to generate some more stars so they can generate some more revenue by signing a big star. That
Bernard,
teams do that.
Listen, I got to say something. Bernard says that Rodgers had 28 touchdowns and 13 picks in 2008. That's great.
He did.
He's also been to 5 NFC Championship games. He's got 9 touchdowns and 8 picks in those 5 NFC Championship games. So he doesn't even have 2 touchdowns per game. And he's got 8 interceptions in 5 games in the NFC Championship game. Now, everybody blames the defense, but that's not Aaron Rodgers like numbers. So I don't want to hear it anymore. I am done.
That's interesting because you said out he never wants to take the chances and throw the ball.
He should have. Okay, go and watch that Atlanta freaking NFC Championship game, dude. Just watch it. Look at him on the sideline in the entire second half.
Yeah, they were overmatched.
Now, they had a terrible defense, and he knew it, and he just was like, he just waited for the clock to expire. He went out there, didn't even try. Watch the game again. I watched it again, and it's ugly. His demeanor on the sideline is ugly. His performance on the field was, I don't give a crap. We don't have a chance. I don't care anymore. You compare that to Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl this last year, where he's throwing crap from his sideways and running around like a crazy guy when he's got nobody protecting him. It's a totally different freaking player. And a totally different mindset. I don't want to hear this anymore. I am done. When it comes to Rodgers, what he said in his interview or his press conference was awesome. I think he was completely honest in everything he believed in that press conference. The problem I have with it is, where were these feelings and all these things when all those guys got cut? Never said a word. Goody said he's never made it come to us and said, "Hey, I want to be part of the decision making." Now, if I am a Packers, general manager, it's only my, been here around, and I've been around the team for years and years. And not only did Brett Favre never come to us and talk to us, but Aaron Rodgers never came to us and specifically asked us for things or just asked to be part of something until just this past spring. That's what Goody said. He said, he never came up to us until, the spring he did. And I would love to have his input. He even said that in his press conference. So where was the concern when all those other, when Greg Jennings, that's the other thing. He didn't mention Greg Jennings. You know why? Because he was trying to sell him to opposing teams. Remember? That's how Greg Jennings got so mad about it.
He
doesn't care about Greg Jennings. So Greg Jennings, he could try to kick out of town. You know what else bothers me? I don't know if people remember this. No, I'm going to go now because I had listened to you last night. Don't forget about this. Last year, when Kenny Clark and Dave Bakhtiari got their big contracts, and they asked Aaron Rodgers about, what about Corey Linsley and Aaron Jones? And he spoke highly of Corey Linsley and how important it was to get him back. And then they asked him about Aaron Jones. And Aaron Rodgers' response was, well, that's not my job. I don't get paid to make those decisions. Funny, because now he wants to be part of the decisions. But just 9 months ago, when asked about Aaron Jones' contract possibly coming up, he didn't. Oh, not my problem, not my decision. When it's his buddies, then he's upset. But when it's a guy who can help the team and is an awesome guy who took less money to come back with the team, not a diva wide receiver who wants to be the highest paid receiver, and a left tackle wants to be the highest paid left tackle, and a defensive lineman who's hurt all the time and stinks wants to be the highest paid interior defensive lineman, not named Aaron Donald. That's okay. Think about that, Jace. That's what bothered me. I love that press conference. I was behind him. And then the day later, I thought about all the things he said, and I was like, "What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute." He never got upset when they freaking, did sign back Charles Woodson.
Hey,
Not that we know of. Maybe he did. Maybe he did, but it wasn't public. He wasn't talking public like he is now.
well, no.
Julius Peppers apparently wanted to come back for cheap. I didn't know that. But here's the other thing.
The Packers didn't know that because they wouldn't listen to him.
Does Big Dog deserve to be on this team anymore? Hell no. They've been keeping him around for Aaron Rodgers for years. Do you remember that?
How do you know it's Aaron Rodgers? It might be Nathaniel Hackett that loves him.
Matt LaFleur loves him too. I know.
And Nathaniel Hackett. Listen, I understand.
Think about all those things. Think about all those things.
I understand. But also, okay, let me just make a couple of quick points. When Greg Jennings was freaking out about that thing and all this stuff, Aaron Rodgers was very early in his career starting for the Packers. Okay. So he certainly didn't have the same amount of clout and all that stuff. So I don't think, plus, I think he liked Greg Jennings, but he only played with him a couple of years.
He was talking to opposing teams.
He was joking around.
You should join this team.
He was joking
I know,
around.
but sometimes joking around to one guy can be perceived as a slight and being a jerk face to another guy. And that's why Greg Jennings has had this evil thing put on his head, and all Packer fans hate him all these years, even though he was a great freaking player.
People don't like him because he went out and talked a bunch of trash about Rodgers forever and ever and ever about that one thing. It was that one thing happened. And also, remember, Greg Jennings pouted and didn't play the last however many games of the season and sat out because he wasn't going to put himself first for the team.
And why did he do that, Jason? Do you remember why he did that? Why did he do that, though?
He's a baby.
No, because the Packers weren't in talks with him. They told him, we're not going to bother with you. You're done after this year. See you later. And he said, okay, well, I'm not going to play if I'm hurt so that I get myself more hurt and then I can't make money on my own in free agency. Well, so don't get on Greg Jennings for the same crap that Rodgers is complaining about the Packers. Same thing happened to Greg Jennings.
We're lucky that Devontae Adams isn't going to take that same approach because otherwise he could do the same thing.
I wish he would. I think the team would be better.
He looks pretty.
They're undefeated. They're undefeated when he don't play.
He looks like he worked out a lot this year. He looks like a monster right now.
Well, it's his contract year. You bet your buddy worked out a lot.
All right. So, okay, here's a couple other things I want to say. Now, Aaron Rodgers did say things publicly. I'm sure he said things to the front office or said things to coaches or whatever, especially when Jordy was let go.
Well, that was
especially when, because he went at that time, he never handled things in the public like that if he had a disagreement with the Packers, because he was like, I'm the franchise guy. Like, I'm towing the company line. But this really bothers me. But he put out stuff. The tribute he put out to some of these guys when they left, like Jordy, he had a big post about it and said, you'll never know what 87 meant to me and all this sort of stuff, right? And that clearly bothered him. And other things clearly bothered him. And when people asked him about it, the media asked him about it afterwards, he made statements. So don't say that he's never said anything about any of this stuff before. He has. He wasn't this forthcoming about it or this upfront with it because he didn't feel empowered to be able to do that. And the other thing that happened at some point, which was clear because then he came out and the only thing he said was, it's been made clear to me my job is to play quarterback. They want me to play quarterback around here, and that's what I'm supposed to do. I think that was like 4 years ago, whenever the heck it was. Something happened in there where he went to talk to somebody about some of this type of stuff or whatever. And maybe it was around the time Peppers left. I don't know. And because I just remember him in a press conference in the locker room, not a press conference, but in the locker room saying that, where people were asking about some stuff. And he's like, look, it's been made clear to me that I'm just here to play quarterback. So that's what I got to focus on is playing quarterback the best I can. So it's not like he's never spoken out about any of this stuff. He has. And it's clearly bothered him and it's clearly built up. Now, as I said last night, when he made a list of players, by including Micah Hyde in that list, that made it 100% correct. Because Micah Hyde...
No, that's what got me. If he wouldn't have mentioned Micah Hyde, I probably wouldn't have cared. And then he said Micah Hyde, and then he pulled me in. He pulled me in, and then I fell for it. I fell for it. No, I fell for it. Jason, the only difference between Aaron Rodgers not being as upset and not making a stink, and then Rodgers making a stink, is that the Packers drafted Jordan Love. And then all of a sudden he realized, holy crap, I could end up just like all those guys. And then all of a sudden now it upsets him more. And then he goes and talks to all the guys and says, what was it like when you left? But here's another thing that's very interesting, because when Josh Sitton and TJ Lang just this last season did a alumni spotlight video, which I watched, and it was very awesome, those two guys together. And they both said they talked about going to other teams and being on other teams and saying, Green Bay is a place to be. I mean, good God. When you go to another team, you realize this is the best organization in the league. Randall Cobb at his press conference yesterday, or Wednesday, whatever day it was, said he cried in his vehicle driving to the airport, and his wife was crying because he felt like he could finally breathe again. But you're telling me that he was treated like crap? And that's what Goody hears. And then when people wonder why Goody got upset, or kind of upset, when he was like, listen, I think we treat our players very well. And he does. And they do. The Packers have, you talk to anybody who's left the Green Bay and gone somewhere else, or somebody who was at somewhere else and came to Green Bay, other than a couple franchises like the Steelers and the Ravens maybe, who are very, very well run and they really are good with their players and stuff, they all say Green Bay is run great. It's an awesome place to play. It's an awesome place to be a part of. And Randall Cobb's press conference, he couldn't stop smiling. He couldn't stop being excited about coming back to Green Bay. Does that look like a guy who was, yes, heartbroken because they didn't offer him a contract. But he's even said, I understand it's a business, and keeping me at that, if we kept him at that amount of money, we couldn't have kept Devontae Adams at the amount of money he was making over the last bunch of years at $17 million a year.
Well, you knew when Jordy and him and Adams was coming up, like there's no way they could hang on to all those guys. You knew stuff was going to have to change. Right. So that was going to happen.
You think Double D didn't want to try to go somewhere else? He could have, but he was like, okay, they're kicking me out of town.
His last season was such a drag. I mean, that really bummed me out too.
And the weird part is when you go back, like I said, I watched the playoffs. This past off season, I just went back and because I tried to be like, okay, I want to be happy again. So I'm trying to find things that make me happy. So I have to do with the Packers. So a couple of days, I just watch a playoff game here or there. And I watched the Eagles playoff game on the Packers Super Bowl run. And in that game, James Starks and Donald Driver were awesome. They were the reason why the Packers offense kept them in the game, so that Tremont could get the couple picks that saved them. It was Tremont, Donald Driver, and James Starks. Those three guys made that game. And then Clay Matthews had a couple sacks, I think, too. But it was awesome to watch. Like Double D, just 2 years, not even two, the season before his last season, he was an integral part of the team. And then they kicked him out of town. And you know why they kicked him out of town? Because they drafted Randall Cobb.
Yep.
Think about that. It's all a circular thing, okay? This is the NFL. Players come and go. My favorite Packer of all time is probably Don Majkowski, or Aaron Jones is becoming that. But Don Majkowski only had, one season of awesomeness, and then he had a bunch of crap. And he goes. Guys come and go. Double D is probably one of the most beloved Packers of all time. And it was Randall Cobb who was the reason why Double D was not signed back and pretty much forced to retire.
It wasn't even that, too. He was inactive for a bunch of games his last year on the team. That was just disgusting. I mean,
they had Randall Cobb.
He was good enough to be your fourth receiver on that team. That last season for Driver was really, really tough as a Packers fan, because the dude could still play, and you had him relegated to not even active for games. That was just uncool. I hated that.
So how does that make Donald Driver feel? I'm sure it made him feel like crap. But you know what? He understood it was a business. He sucked it up. He retired. And after, he's still, as soon as it was, boom, most beloved guy of all time. Donald Driver can go anywhere in Wisconsin. People will buy him whatever he wants. They'll hug him. They'll kiss him. He is awesome, right? Everybody loves. There's not a single person who doesn't love Donald Driver. Not a single person. But the same thing happened to him. And Rodgers, until it was possibly happening to Rodgers himself, that's when he finally clicked in and he was like, uh-oh. Then he gets mad about all these other guys.
Okay, but let me just say this once. Let me ask this question. Isn't that life? Isn't that part of life? Like perspective, you gain perspective oftentimes through a number of experiences. And some of those experiences, you don't get the perspective until it's thrown right in your face.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
It's happened. It happened to me.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying like that's normal human behavior. But I am saying that he also, like some of these other things he brought up were things that bothered him at the time. He did make some public statements about it, which also leads you to believe that he probably tried to do some things privately with the team or team leadership and was just shooed away. So, I mean, I get it. It's more of a big deal now and more of a big deal made about it now. But I think he has tried to do some things, and maybe that's part of his own thing. Like he wasn't good enough at communicating with them. They weren't good enough at communicating with him clearly through a bunch of stuff. And so it all turned into this. Now, what this means is that I got to get my sticking communication consulting business off the ground. I should probably go straight to the Packers and be like, look, you guys just had a big ass mess because you don't know how to communicate. I can help you. Hire me to help you with all of your internal communications. Pay me a whole bunch of money, and you'll never have this PR mess again on your hands because I will help you communicate with your players and your players communicate with you. Millions of dollars to Jason Hafeman so we can elevate Hafeman Bros, get a press pass. What do you think about that? I said last night, huh?
That's
Press
never gonna happen.
pass.
I just
Press
want it really
pass
clear
for
though.
Hafeman
Now,
Bros.
I have just ragged. Listen,
Ask some questions, Hafeman Bros. Go ahead.
okay, done. I've just ragged and complained about Rodgers, but I'm telling you right now, I am happy he's back. I totally think that everything he said that press conference was a true, honest account of what happened and how he's been feeling for the last 6 months. I believe that. And I totally understand it. And I totally agree with him. I just want that clear. The thing that bothered me was it seemed like it was kind of, it's just convenient that as soon as something happens to him, then that's when now he's really upset about it and wants to get more involved. He's been in the league for 17 years. What's the difference between a guy who's been in the league for 10 years? Would he want to be involved with things when he was in the league for 10 years? All of a sudden, now that it's the 17th year, he wants to be involved. I mean, it's just it's a little weird that he plays the call now. It's because they drafted his replacement, and he knows that he might not be here forever, and blah blah blah, and he probably doesn't want to. And Goody, every time they ask Goody about seasons beyond this season, Goody goes like this, and then answers the question, which he needs, which is he's not here past this year because he gets upset or not upset, but that's his tell that he's trying to dodge the question. No, watch the press conference again. Every time he goes like this.
Now you know if you ever get Gutekunst in the poker room, you know what his tell is.
He does this every time. It's hilarious. So I just want to clear. Like I'm excited. I mean, I think they have a chance to go all the way. But hey, the Rams got their quarterback. Tampa Bay's the same team as they were last year. Everybody's talking about Dallas. If now that Dak is back, maybe they can pull something out of a hat with the new defensive coordinator and
McCarthy magic.
Plus, everybody in the West is good except for the 49ers got a crappy quarterback, but who knows? Maybe the guy they drafted is good. I don't know. The Vikings are still something. If they could somehow figure out how to protect Kirk Cousins, they're going to be unstoppably good. Actually, I looked at the ratings again. Remember I was telling you about Robert Tonyan is the highest rated catch above expected rating or whatever. He had a 16.9 catch above expected, number one in the league. The only tight end in the top 10, by the way, just so everybody knows. But he's not in the top 10 of any tight end rankings in all of the NFL or Madden rating or anything for some unknown reason. He's not in the top 10 on anything. Whatever. But anyways, both, are you ready for this? Both Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who I was totally wrong on. I admit I was wrong. I thought he would suck. Apparently he's good. They were number 6 and number 7. Where with most expected yards or catch rate above whatever it is, I screwed up every time, but you know what I mean. You're supposed to expect to catch this, they catch this much, right? They catch more than what is expected. They were all like in the 10, 11 range and 9 range. And of course, Robert Tonyan was 16.9. And the next guy below him was Stephon Diggs at like 12. So, and then Devontae Adams was number 4, who's still a good receiver. I'm not saying he's not a good receiver, but he's not the best receiver in the league because he doesn't have speed and he drops open touchdowns. I am sorry. Not only that, let's go back and think about How many interceptions did Aaron Rodgers have last year? He had like 5, right? I know of at least 2 of them were either a target to Devontae Adams or off Devontae Adams' hands in the Tampa Bay game the first time. So 2 of his picks are because he's trying to target Devontae Adams. Now, he targeted Devontae Adams more than 2.5 times amount of the next 2 guys or 2.5 guys after on the team that were targeted. So you have more interceptions when you throw to him because you're throwing to him more than everybody else. I get that, but it's still a thing. Okay, I'm done talking for a while.
All right. I understand. I understand what you're saying, and a lot of this, I don't think it had as much to do with the drafting of Jordan Love as it did with just kind of, I think, a number of other factors. And I think the guys tried. I think they're, look, you got a new coach, new GM, all these other things change, stuff changes. And the other part is, I think he was trying to be like, okay, maybe we had good success, then we had it all tailed off, right? I mean, the McCarthy offense didn't work anymore. The win your one-on-one matchups wasn't working anymore when you didn't have talented enough guys. Ted Thompson drafted like trash for however many years.
Right. Well, that's the problem.
No, but I'm saying
they let guys go when they were on the tail end or they were on the downswing. And Spoon, right? Silverstein asked the question. He's like, "Are you sure you want to put your hat on these?" Because a lot of these guys, after they left, the next year they became a camp casualty because their performance did go down after they left the team. The only ones who didn't were guys that were signed to their second contract and they didn't sign it, like Casey Hayward and Micah Hyde. Those were 2 guys that the Packers should have signed back because they were on the upswing of their careers and they didn't even offer them deals because they were stupid. But that's the other ones that Rodgers mentioned were guys that were going for their third contract, and then the Packers said no because they usually say no to the third contract.
I mean, but if Julius Peppers is going to play for like $3 million, I mean, come on. Or if TJ Lang on a 2-year deal, probably would have been fine. Anyway, the thing I'm thinking here though, really with that was like, okay, if so anyway, you had that tail off in the plan. It wasn't working anymore. Okay. Then you got new leadership. You got a new coach, new GM. And so you're stepping into this and you're like, okay, let's try it. Oh, we got some good success. 13-3 NFC Championship game. Okay. 13-3 NFC Championship. All right, we're going to do it. And it falls short again. And then you as a guy who's like late in your career, who everybody's saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers can't get it done in these NFC Championship games. The Packers can't get past the NFC Championship games. Aaron Rodgers can't win an NFC Championship game, right? Then you look at it and you're like, man, if I had this guy, I feel like we could have done it. Or man, if we had a couple tweaks here, maybe we could have done it. And he's also the person on the field trying to execute stuff versus the guy upstairs who thinks he knows how all the pieces are going to fit. So I think, to me, less than the draft pick influence, I think it was more about the last couple seasons falling short, trying to give the new people a chance and the plan a chance and seeing how it worked out. And it wasn't enough again, right? Neither season it was enough. And so maybe, I think that has more to do with it coming out now as the way it was than anything else. Okay.
Yeah, but dude,
go ahead. And then I want to ask you about
a couple years before that, they were a disaster.
Right.
They went from being a complete disaster. They were 4-12. They were a complete disaster of a team. And
they're 4-12.
And LaFleur, I think so.
Out there 6 and
when McCarthy got canned, maybe they were 6-10. I don't remember.
Really 4-12?
They were bad. They were terrible.
5-11. Let's call it.
I don't remember. It was bad. I try to take it out of my mind. But I mean,
yeah, I get
you. You have to give Goody and LaFleur some love for that.
For sure.
Rodgers was on the team in 2018 and they stunk.
They improved the team greatly. I'm just saying it was short again. And there were holes and there were reasons why it was short. And so maybe he's thinking
because I'll tell you why, because Jimmy Graham was playing instead of Robert Tonyan. Because Billy Turner was out there instead of freaking Lukey Patrick. I'll tell you another reason. Who else? Name me somebody else that was out there that shouldn't have been. Kevin King was out there instead of anybody.
Teron Williams. I mean, come on.
Jamad should have been out there. The second time. I'm talking about the first time. The first time when they went, they should have beat the 49ers and went to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
If they would not have had Jimmy Graham, if they would have played anybody but Jimmy Graham, who drops the balls, can't run routes, can't block. I mean, I don't know why you would even have him on the team. That was the one move that Goody made that was by far the dumbest of all time.
But
you cut Jordy and then sign. Yeah, because at least Billy Turner can play multiple positions, sort of.
He can line up at multiple positions. Line up at multiple positions.
Yeah, he's terrible too. But I just listen. You can't deny the fact that they've been good the last 2 years.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're short. You know,
and Rodgers is a part of the fact that
there's not enough there. They have too many holes to be exploited. I mean, the 49ers just ran on them all game long, and that was a big issue. And then they didn't even address it with the team coming into this year. And you were like, "What?"
Well, you know why they didn't address it? Because they watched the tape and they saw that Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith didn't play the run. Yeah. They just wanted to go to the quarterback because that's where the money is.
Yeah, get the quarterback.
Sacks equal money. I mean, come on. Zadarius Smith got his extra money and he bought Preston Smith a car, right? Because he had all those sacks last year.
I should have bid on this item. I was going to get it for you, but.
Yeah, you should have got it for me. You're a jerk.
Should have done it. Well, I didn't buy it because $130 or whatever. It was a lot.
I didn't buy it because I didn't think he was going to be back on the team, but he was.
10K way.
No, Double Doink says you win with people, not with talent. So the quality of the people is very important in building your team. Herb Brooks, the famous hockey coach from Minnesota here, who won the Miracle on Ice and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. And I've seen the movie with Kurt Russell, my doppelganger guy. I've seen it.
Ooh, doppelganger. I thought the dude was your doppelganger.
No.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Russell's more my doppelganger. He's got the deep set eyes, similar nose.
Right on.
Me and Kurt Russell are similar. But anyways,
I want to hear from you.
Like you and Paul Rudd. Me and Kurt Russell.
Yeah, me and Paul Rudd. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I appreciate that because Paul Rudd is pretty fit as Ant-Man. Maybe I'm more like Paul Rudd in Night at the Museum. He was a little chubbier then, and not quite as.
Dude, you're not chubby. You're skinnier than crap. I just saw you last weekend.
I'm a little chubby.
I hugged you, and there's like nothing there to hug. I was like, what a wuss. I could have kicked your butt.
It's drastic. If you see Night at the Museum Paul Rudd versus Ant-Man Paul Rudd, it's pretty drastic. Hey, did you happen to catch Balaz coming back and then see some of his comments from one of our videos just recently?
I saw some things.
You went through
saying that he had some stuff that happened that sucked.
Yeah, family stuff and deaths in the family, and
yeah.
So sucks. I was, and it was really kind of interesting because like just a week ago, I was wondering, I'm like, where has he been? Has he kind of tuned out or what's happening? And then there he was back, and then he told me why, and it was like, man, we feel you. We try to be here for you guys no matter what's going on, and try to include you in our community because we think you guys are awesome. So, but we understand life happens, and if you need to step away for a while and come back, we'll still be here. That's what we do.
Well, he had a post in June where he was like, I'm just sick of this crap, this Rodgers crap, but until something happens, I'm not even going to freaking bother talking about it anymore. And he didn't, which is fine. I mean, probably the smartest out of all of us because he,
right.
he had another bunch of other stuff going on and he didn't worry about it. And then now Rodgers is back and it's all the same as it was before. Anyways, who gives a crap? I mean, obviously there's an issue, and obviously after this season, he's probably not going to be a Packer anymore, more than likely, based on the comments of Goody and the comments of Rodgers and all that kind of stuff. But you never know. I mean, here's the thing. The other thing that bothered me was the fact that, and I like this about Rodgers, is that they came to him in February and talked to him about restructuring so they could sign more guys to go all in for 2021. And he was like, I want to have, and he said not once did they talk about extending him to do it, or moving more guaranteed money into the fourth and fifth years of his contract that were coming up, or third and fourth, I guess, whatever. And he said it bothered him. And he was like, well, what the crap's with that? And then after all the stuff came out, and he said, well, then just trade me or whatever. Then all of a sudden they came back and were like, here's an extension, $5 million, a whole bunch of money and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for just guaranteed money to prove that you guys want me here for the next bunch of years. And then I'm more than welcome to, take a lower guaranteed money so that we can get more guys in here and try to make a run. And I appreciated that he didn't just take the money and run kind of thing. And it proves that he doesn't, because a lot of, because that's the problem was when there's so much stuff going around, everybody was like, well, he just wants more money. Oh, he wants this. Oh, he wants that. All he wanted was, like what we had talked about, was he wants to be, like he always said, he wants to be a Packer for life, right? And then when the Jordan Love thing happened and all this, and then when they didn't came, after he had an MVP season, and they come to him and they freaking don't extend him or extend the guaranteed money, they just want to restructure the guarantees so that they're kind of hanging around in 2021. And he was like, no, I ain't doing that crap. And that's why we heard the report in March where they were like, where somebody said that the Packers are waiting on Rodgers so they can go after some free agents. Well, that's the reason why. Because they were trying to get him to redo 21 so they could go free agents, but not guarantee, not give him security for the future with the franchise. And so the fact that Rodgers, then came back and said, nah, I don't want the extra, deals. And now they've restructured his deal, taking the last year off, which pretty much forces the Packers to next year trade him, extend him with the guaranteed money he wants, or else. I mean, that's really the only two options they have. Because if they think they're going to let him play for 1 year and then let him go as a free agent like the Patriots did, that's stupid. You get nothing back for him. So they better trade him after this year or extend his butt with a bunch of guarantees so that he can be here as long as he wants, one way or the other. And I'm okay with either one. Like I said, I think everything he said is what he believes. And I am 100% behind what he said. And I agree with a lot of what he said. It's just, I don't like how all of a sudden now he's saying it. And it had bothered him now and blah, 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 right? But if he's here, quarterback for the Pack for the next 5 years, after this year, they extend him and he says, yeah, let's do it. Awesome. Because he's a great quarterback. And they need him to win. But part of that deal is he needs to understand Davante Adams cannot be signed back. They don't have the money for that. Okay. Right. They can sign back other guys who are very good pieces. Look at the Bucs. They have Giannis. That's our Rodgers, right? Then Chris Middleton, who's pretty dang good. That's our Aaron Jones, right? Then you got Drew Holiday. Okay, that's your David Bakhtiari, right? Then you got a bunch of other guys.
You see,
you can't
the
have
tackle they signed.
The tackle looks like David Bakhtiari, yeah.
Except he's huge. He's way taller. He's like freaking a monster. Holy moly!
Well, maybe he'll be playing instead of Billy Turner at right tackle. I don't know. I have to watch some film on him. I have no idea, but I'll get to looking at him. I can't remember what his name is. I just heard that he came out with David Bakhtiari's jersey on his first practice, and everybody thought Bakhtiari was practicing on the field, and all the reporters were like, "Oh my gosh, Bakhtiari!" And then they're like, "No, it's not."
He looks a lot like him too, kind of.
Well, he's got long hair, and yeah, but
and they took a side-by-side picture, and their knees were at the same height, but then that guy has like way longer from knee to, I don't know all the proper body terms, but knee to, rest of your leg, whatever that is way longer than Bakhtiari. So he's actually probably like 4 inches taller than him or something. And it was crazy how their knees lined up, but then he was super way taller. And I'm like, wow, how does this work proportionally? I don't get it. I'm trying to figure it out. But
all I know is
a huge dude. He's huge.
Those two guys and Royce Newman, you could have an offensive line with 3 long-haired, weird-looking long-haired guys. Long black hair on your weird-looking white dudes. Anyways, I just want to clear. Listen, I know Bernard's mad at me. I was going off. Listen,
he's not mad at you. Dennis Kelly. Rick says Rick is in the house crafting beer. He's getting ready for beer. Rick is getting ready for beer competitions this weekend or something, I think.
Whoa, Rick, we finally got Grant's housing placements.
There you go.
So I'll be in contact with you soon about going up there to visit and
checking
some stuff out. But it's probably gonna have to be on a weekday.
Rick's basement. That's his housing.
It might be. You know how expensive it is. It might be Rick's basement. if it's cheaper, Rick, we'll talk. We'll be talking about it. So you know.
It's great. Okay, I know we want to wrap it up, but I was curious. I mean, I said it last night, but did you watch Davante Adams' press conference?
Yeah.
I could not believe how much he went on and on and on about the contract negotiations. They barely asked about it, and he
It's
just
honestly it makes me like him less and less and less. I already thought he shouldn't be on the team. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They win without him. They win without him. He's not a game-changing player. He's not a we need him or else player. Bakhtiari, when he's out, we're in trouble. We lose because Aaron Rodgers is running for his life. If Aaron Rodgers isn't in there, we probably lose. But Davante Adams, they can win without him. So he needs to realize some stuff. And it just juxtapose that to Aaron Jones, who took less money, came back, all about the team, always talks about the team, was here, the only veteran who came back the week after the mandatory minicamp. He came back for the OTA the next week, the only veteran player to come. Because he said, hey, I want to be here for my guys and help them out. Where Davante stayed away, and he told all of his wide receiver friends to all stay away. And he said, oh, I had nothing to do with that. Yeah, okay. Sure, Davante. Well,
I mean, they asked him that specific thing. Oh, you think about taking a hometown discount? And he was like, why would I? Nobody does that. I'm going to,
Aaron Jones did.
I'm just like, dude, wow. I mean.
He can go. He can go.
He's very talented, but
he's not that great.
I have this same, he clearly has a very high view of himself, very high opinion of himself, right? He thinks he's the best. He thinks he should be paid to be the best. You can't argue with his numbers and his production. That's fine. He's been very productive. But like, I mean, there's like, you said it, and we've seen it. When he's been out, the offense still works. When he's there, yes, he makes some plays that maybe most of the other guys couldn't make, but maybe you don't need him to make those plays because you run the offense differently because he's not in there. So it's like, okay, I don't think I don't think he's going to be on the Packers for sure. I'm conflicted, but now because Gutekunst is like, he's very important to us and blah, 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 and all this stuff.
Well, he's got to say that.
But he said that stuff publicly, right? It's probably more for the fan base so they don't get all crazy because they're like, you almost screwed this up with Rodgers, and now you're going to get rid of Davante Adams. Our fan base is going to freak out. So maybe he's saying that because of that, even though he's like secretly like, there's no way in hell we're paying that guy that much money. Like,
yeah.
So that's probably it. And I hope that's it because yes, I mean, sticking that much money into a wide receiver, no, you just can't do it. Especially a guy that's almost 30. No, come on.
Like I said, he's a very good receiver.
He is. He's very good.
But every one of his talents, like, it's a replaceable talent. There's a lot of guys that can do those things. And part of his numbers are the fact that Rodgers looks to him all the time.
He gets a lot of opportunities.
Look at his numbers when Jordy Nelson was here. Or Randall Cobb. Like, that's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. With Randall back, like, is Rodgers going to force feed Randall Cobb now more? And maybe so. Davante's numbers go down. And what's the opinion going to be like then? How's Davante going to feel when Aaron Rodgers' best buddy is back? Because Davante and Aaron have a good relationship, but Davante and Randall Cobb are like best buddies.
I like family.
It's like,
I like family.
I mean, that's a different type of situation.
Double Doink says it. He's like, he's going to want $28 million a year. Too much. You're right.
That's insane.
That's
insane.
It's just way too much for any wideout. Especially when you have a feature back like Jones, who's not even making like a quarter of that. That's just.
Well, the other thing is like,
but here's the one other thing I'm gonna tell you. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because Adams to this point, and he even said it. He said it in his press conference that it's not about the numbers, it's not about this and that, it's about winning the Super Bowl, and I hope that's what he can maintain. But he's also a receiver in a contract year, and if his numbers don't look great, he's not going to get as much money from wherever he's going to go next. So is there going to be pressure from him applied to Rodgers, applied to the offensive staff to make sure he gets his. I don't know. I don't know. But that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out this season, to see if Devontae Adams becomes more like a lot of these certain receivers that are me, especially because he's in a contract year.
He made $17 million last year, and he said he outperformed his contract last year. Aaron Jones led the league in touchdowns 2 years ago. Was he bitching and moaning about more money then when he led the NFL in touchdowns? No. He went out the next year and said, I want to get paid. I'm going to come back out here and kick some butt. And never once did he say, I should be the highest paid because I've scored the most touchdowns and I was the most dynamic player in the NFL. No, he didn't. And it just shows you what type of person Aaron Jones is, what type of person Devontae Adams is. He's become less and less likable to me as a person. I'm sorry. And maybe people think he's awesome. That's fine. I think he's replaceable. And if you're replaceable, you don't go walking around poking your chest out like you're the man. Because you're not. The team does better when you're not in the game. Because Rodgers runs the offense instead of just forcing it to hit freaking Devontae all the time.
I hope that he can do what he said in his press conference that he wanted to do, that the winning was the most important thing to him, that, whether he gets 60 yards or 150 yards, he doesn't care as long as the team wins. I hope that all stays true, but you got to look at the reality of the situation. The Packers, and he was clearly upset that the Packers had like 6 months to figure out this contract with him, and they weren't even close, and it all broke down. And now here we are at square nothing again. And now we're going into the season. And in the NFL and a lot of pro sports, a lot of jobs, whatever, it's a what have you done for me lately? Especially if you're an aging player in professional sports. If you don't put up huge numbers again this year, you're not going to get as much money. You're going to lose money. And clearly the money matters to Devontae Adams a lot. So as in most guys, I get it. But
I mean,
man,
dude,
I just hope it doesn't turn into this big thing where I don't know. I'm worried about that part. That could screw up the offense in the season a lot.
I say trade him now. Trade him to the Raiders. Trade him to the Raiders now. You got enough for damn receivers on this team. You got enough. Just trade him. He's a freaking head case. If you trade him, it'll save you money because I'm pretty sure. I think $8 million out of his 17 is actually only guaranteed. The rest of it is not. So by trading him, you're going to save whatever, $9 million or something on the cap. Trade him. But the problem is Rodgers loves him. So then he'll be pissed about it. And there'll be another guy we should have had. Okay, well,
it's not just that too, though. I mean, he does draw a lot of attention, a lot of doubles. Because defensive coordinators, even though he's not a game breaker, beat you over the top guy, they do double a lot. So then he gives MVS more opportunities to get open deep. So it's like, okay, if you take him away, does that impact MVS's effectiveness or ability to impact the game?
I don't think it does because people aren't worried about MVS because he drops half the balls. So they're not going to worry about him. They'll worry more about Aaron Jones.
Contract year for him too.
They'll worry about the running. Well, how does he feel? Packers just traded for, and that's the other thing. Aaron Rodgers said, if you're going to let go of the second, arguably or whatever, the second best receiver in camp, that affects my job or whatever. He's talking about Kumaro. He thought Kumaro was the second best receiver in camp last year.
And Eckes would agree.
Okay, Eckes would, but not many others would, including MVS, Alan Lazard. Wonder how those guys feel right now. Rodgers pretty much publicly said, Jake Kumero's better than you guys. I would have rather had him
That was 2 years ago, though. That was 2 years ago.
No, that was last year.
That was 2 years ago.
No, that was last year. That was last offseason, Jace.
Really?
Yes. Kumaro was blocking for Aaron Jones on a bunch of his touchdowns when he led the league in touchdowns.
Really?
Yes. And then the Bills picked up Kumaro last year, and he was on their practice squad, and he played in one game, and then they cut him, and they put him back on the practice squad.
Bills are smart.
Anyways,
I got my guy.
Yeah, but the Bills now signed Sammy Watkins, so
Oh, not so smart.
last offseason.
And they
Anyways,
got Diggs too. He's not this one.
what I'm saying is,
All
there's a lot of things that are happening here that Rodgers, I don't think he really, I think he understands what he's saying as far as the guy. Okay. He likes his buddies. That's all I'm going to say.
We're all like
and he doesn't care. By him saying that Kuro, it's pretty much telling Lazard and MVS, you guys stink. That's pretty much what he said. That's pretty much what he said.
That is not it.
If a guy who could barely make the practice squad of the Bills, who had to trade away a bunch of stuff to get Diggs so that their offense could actually run, and that guy can't even make their active roster, he thinks that's the second best receiver on the Packers' entire squad. That's a very telling, interesting comment that if I was Lazard or MVS, I would take as a slight. And I'd be like, dude, come on.
In that camp, he performed
He did perform great. He should not have been cut.
No.
St. Brown should have been cut. Brown should have been cut a long time ago. He stinks.
MVS is very inconsistent. Look, Rodgers likes people he can count on that are consistent. That's what he values and covets the most. So that's why he loved Jordy so much. That's why Cobb
it's interesting you bring up Jordy because you know who wouldn't
Mom wants him back.
Who wouldn't be complaining about being the number one highest paid receiver in the league? Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, he didn't care.
Jordy Nelson, he just wanted to be paid properly as a good receiver. Now he never led the league in receiving. I think he led the league in touchdowns a couple times. But the reason why is because Rodgers actually spread the ball around and they were good then. He wasn't force-fed the ball like Devontae's been the last couple of years, especially last year.
Plus, Jordy had the best feel for the whole shot, reception up the sideline between the safety and corner. And then it wasn't even very complicated, but he just do the one little move and then beat the guys and nobody can catch him.
Well, MVS does that. He got like a bunch against the Bears.
That's the same.
But anyways, listen, man, this team it's starting to get me mad. And it's starting to also make me happy. So I don't know.
You know what they have to do?
What?
They have to inspire. They have to go back. The whole team should go and watch the All Access Milwaukee Bucks win the championship.
I haven't watched that yet.
And look at that team and look at how they interact. Because right now the Packers need to pull everything together. They have enough. They have what it takes. They have the pieces. They got enough, everything in place. But right now they got to all come together. And that Bucks team, that's what they were all about. And they're awesome.
That was one thing about LaFleur's interview I liked, where he mentioned his favorite thing about the Bucks winning in Game 6 was when Bobby Portis got teed up because he got called for that foul. It was like the third time in a row where he didn't follow the guy. They called him a foul on him, and he was super pissed that he ran down the freaking court. And he got a tee called on him, and then Middleton went up to him. He's like, dude, be cool, man. We're almost there. Stop screwing this up. Just be cool. I know it sucks, but just suck it up. We're doing great. And that's the part that LaFleur mentioned. You know, he mentioned it was awesome to be there, and it was great to watch those guys play, blah, blah. But that's the one specific thing he talked about.
Right.
And that's being a great leader and being a great teammate. And that's what the Packers need. And I hope that Rodgers can do that this year. Sometimes you need to run the ball and not freaking, do your pass option instead of the run part of the option. And that's why they lost the NFC Championship game. I'll freaking go to my grave on that. That first down on 1st and 8 when he decided to pull up and throw to Al Lazard, who was thinking he was going to block on that play. He had no idea the ball was coming. I mean, come on. AJ, first and goal from the 8-yard line in the NFC Championship game, you run the freaking ball. I don't give a crap. There's a chance you can get in the end zone. You're at least going to get a couple yards with A.J. Dillon running straight. But instead, it was a freaking incomplete pass because Rodgers decided to pass instead of run. And then it was 2nd and 8, crap. 3rd and 8, crap. Punt or kick a field goal. Just run the damn ball.
Yeah.
Learn from the Seahawks when they decided to run the Super Bowl.
Right. There are definitely times in that game and times during the season where look, you're in those scenarios, like you gotta give the run a shot first. I don't care if you think you got the matchup or you think you got this thing going or whatever. I don't care. Just run the ball a couple times, give it a shot, because that's easier. It's an easier play. It's less things can go wrong, right? And don't you feel? I hope, and this is what I feel, but I also hope there's a lot of pressure off Rodgers now, knowing, okay, this is my last year in terms of all this, to be like, okay, and he already knows, like, okay, because I think last year he's like, all right, I'm just going to show these guys how valuable I am, and then they're going to realize they screwed up by drafting this guy, and they're going to trade him, get him out of here, and extend me and commit to me. Well, that still didn't happen. So I feel like this year he's not going to be like, man, I don't need to put up all these touchdowns. I don't need to be all the huge numbers. I don't need to be MVP again. I want to win, so whatever it takes to win, and that also includes in situations like you reference, running the ball, don't check out of it, don't throw a pass, run the freaking ball. And I'm hopeful that that happens, and then they win the Super Bowl, of course. Now, man, I just they got to pull together now. Okay, so Rodgers got his stuff out, Goody got some stuff out. All we need is Mark Murphy. Shut your mouth. No more Mark Murphy talking publicly.
And maybe step down and hire me. Hire me. So I'll go up to Aaron Rodgers and I'll say, hey, Rodgers, don't be the problem.
Oh.
That'll be the first thing I say if I was if I took Mark Murphy's spot.
He'd probably laugh at you because he'd know you're referencing Mark Murphy there.
Yeah. But I'd actually be, you'd think I'd be joking, but I'd be serious.
Like, that's fine.
I would
you still think you're joking, and that's how you should
I know,
be.
but I'd be serious about it, though.
I know.
You'd think I was joking. Because I go like this, I'd be like, hey, Rodgers, don't be the problem.
Oh, did you also see that side note? Jair wore sunglasses again for
his
did. Press conference.
Julian Frankenstein.
Julian Alexander. That's hilarious. 30 packets of ketchup. All right. That's all I got for you tonight. If you know that reference, then you know the movie. Beer's gone. Time to go. Ben, take care. It's going to be okay, guys. Let's enjoy 2021. Like the Packers are saying, we're going to focus on 2021. We'll focus on 2021. Hopefully, it's a really good season. It's going to be a weird season, 17 games. It's still going to throw me off the whole time. It's going to really mess with me. 17 games.
I'm just excited to watch preseason games again. I like to watch the guys that,
the
developmental guy. I want to see, can Jordan Love even throw the ball? I don't know. In a game situation when guys are coming at him.
Yeah.
Apparently he had a couple of bad practices. Like he hit a couple of shots and then he's way off on other passes. And so, I mean, we don't know. He might stink. And then, we got to have Rodgers, right? I mean, but it's just, I want to see these guys. I want to see some Ty Summers improvement. I want to see what the Stokes look like on the field. Is he going to stink? And if he does get beat, will his speed be enough to come back and make a play and get back into play? Maybe. Or Kevin King didn't have that speed, so he got beat. We're screwed. It's a touchdown. Yeah. Maybe Stokes can get in there and punch the ball out like, Don Beebe.
Ooh, that would be nice. Yeah,
or DK Metcalf or whoever did that. Right. DK Metcalf did it last year, right? Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting to see some of these young guys perform, see how they do, and then, the one thing that I knew Goody is good at lying is when. Now I don't know what he said. I'm not saying he lied about anything else, but when he said during his press conference that all the decisions for the Packers are always going to come down to performance on the field. Our decisions. I was like, dude, how can you say that with Billy Turner still playing and on the team and some of these other guys? Come on, man. Christian Kirksey all year long. Come on, stop it. That's a lie.
Well, he doesn't choose who plays. He just chooses. He chooses who's on the team.
I said it. Don't we need those answers? Who's going to ask it if we don't go?
Someone needs to ask the questions because
who chooses who's on the field?
Every Packer fan, go back and watch. Go back and watch the Saints game and watch the Atlanta game. And yes, Ty Summers. Watch the improvement between Ty Summers and the Saints game. He had a couple of really boneheaded moves, and then in the Atlanta game, he had one missed tackle that led to a touchdown. Yes, but he had a bunch of other plays where he was great in coverage. He was covering fast receivers when they come in front of his zone, and he'd go up there, boom, and tackle them right away. I mean, there was improvement between the first game and the second. This is a guy who played quarterback in high school and then got moved to linebacker just recently.
One season in college. That's it.
So, I mean, he's got the talent, and I'm ready to see him do it. The other thing, I guess, what's his face? Who's that big D tackle guy they drafted? TJ Slayton or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess he was like he had a double team on him.
We need him.
Andy Herman was talking about this the other day. He was saying that a couple of stinkers though, Hansen and Stepniak or whatever, were blocking them on a double team on a run play, and TJ Slayton like split the double team and kicked the crap out of him or something like that. And it was like, whoa. He was like, whoa. Because he's such a monster, like huge monster dude. They couldn't freaking compete with his monsterness. So
that might mean
that's pretty cool.
Dean Lowry's out of town this year, but
well, he restructured his deal.
Because you got we need Slayton and Kiki and Kenny Clark to be the main inside guys.
The thing that's really interesting, Jason, is a lot of these veteran guys that make a lot of money, they restructure their deals so that their entire deal right now is pretty much their signing bonus and nothing else. So by cutting them, the Packers make no move or make no room in the cap. So the only way they would be cut is if their performance is so bad and the backup guy is so much, his potential and or play is so much better that they are forced to cut him. If it comes to a numbers crunch, there is no numbers crunch because they've already restructured everybody, like Lowry, Smith, both Smiths, Adrian Amos, Billy Turner, all these guys got restructured. So they really don't save anything by cutting them. It's not like a cap casualty like in the past.
Right.
So the only way they get cut is if they can't play, which Billy Turner can't, but they'll still hang on to him because he's making $8 million.
As long as
$6 million after the restructure, but
as long as 62 is still on the team after final cuts, I'll still be a Packers fan this year. I'll say that. Now, my happy note before we go. I had a friend at work who was like, I walked past her desk and I was like, what the heck is this? And she's like, oh, my ex-boyfriend, he had left these bobbleheads at my house and I'm getting rid of them. I tried to sell some of them on Facebook and eBay and stuff, and people wouldn't even buy these couple. And they were Bucks bobbleheads that he got from going to Bucks games.
Whoa.
One was Junior Brad. What's that guy's name? I don't know. I didn't even know who that guy was. But anyway, one of the only other guy that I at Project Hope where I work, who's a huge Bucks fan, we talked a bunch about the Bucks this year. He took that guy's bobblehead over this guy, and he left this guy's bobblehead. And when I saw this guy's bobblehead, I was like, what? I'll take that bobblehead. That's awesome. And she just gave it to me for free. And it is a guy who, when the Bucks were really terrible in recent years, was their leading offensive option, their leading scorer. He had a 2020 game, one of his best games of all time, where I think he had like 26, 28 points and 21 or 22 rebounds in a single game. He's more of a journeyman guy, but on the Bucks he was a star because they were so bad. And he was pivotal in the 2019 playoffs where he was the reason they won one of those games. I think it was against the Raptors or maybe the series before.
It's good.
It's the one and only Ursan.
Oh.
Ursan.
Yeah,
Also,
I wouldn't want that bobblehead either.
Also a classic flopper. One
Yeah,
of the best floppers
yeah.
ever in the NBA.
I could never get behind Ursan Ilyasova.
Come on! He had 20.
And he had 2 stints with the Bucks. And I couldn't get behind him with either of the stints with the Bucks.
When they were super bad during his first stint, he was literally their number one offensive option.
I know. It's the funniest thing is I have when I bought I the first basketball game, a video game I bought in like years. It was like, I don't know how many, whatever, 9 years ago, whatever it was. And in it, you could pick the Bucks, and then you like build your own like arena and stuff. And they give you like your star player is the guy you like warm up as and stuff and play as. And it's Ursan Ilyasova as the star. Like this, whatever year this was, I was like, wow, this has got to be the worst Bucks team ever. I picked the worst game to choose, whatever year it was. I was like, ugh. I was hoping it'd be like Bogey or somebody, but it was Ursan, who was the best player at the time, I guess.
But in the 2019 playoffs, remember that one game? He had like 17 points or what? It was like super Ursan stepping up.
Was that the one when you, me, and Nico and Vinny were at the...
Right. We had to watch it at that restaurant kind of thing because we couldn't get it on TV. So it must have been, And Ursan was awesome. He was awesome in that game.
He's hitting threes and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So now I have his bobblehead. It's invaluable.
I thought you were going to pull up a Tim Thomas one, and then I would have been like, give it to me.
What are you talking about? No.
Or a Scotty Williams or a Darvin Ham.
I said when the Bucks were terrible, he was like their primary offensive option.
I thought it was going to be a Fred Roberts.
Close, but this is more closer to recent times. Anyway, that's it. The Ursan bobblehead will stay with me forever.
One more thing, we didn't mention Terry Cummings or Ricky Pierce the other day when we were talking with Nico about like great old Bucks.
Classic Bucks.
Sixth man of the year, Ricky Pierce. I mean, come on. And then Terry Cummings, the only man who Charles Barkley said is uglier than he is, or whatever.
He was good, though.
Remember when Barkley had that whole thing about Terry Cummings has got to be the ugliest guy or whatever? That was fucking hilarious. He was ugly.
He was good.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was really good for the Bucks, but not good enough to win.
Didn't Ricky Pierce win like sixth man of the year like 3 years in a row or something?
I remember
Sidney Moncrief
a little bit, but he was older by the time I remember it. So like in the 80s when the Bucks had, I watched some video recently about some guy was going through kind of like, I can't remember he's a Canadian guy though. You can tell by his accent, even more than our accents for you that listen overseas or whatever, talk about people's Wisconsin accents. This dude was definitely Canadian, but he's an NBA fan. And he was breaking down the Bucks, what Giannis did in the Bucks game 6 and whatever. And he was saying how long it was, like the timeline. And he talked about in the 80s, the Bucks were in the Eastern Conference Finals like 3 times. 3 times in the 80s. I didn't remember that. I mean, I was pretty young, but and then not again until 2001, which we know was the job year where they totally should have won.
And I got screwed by the refs.
Yeah, 19 and now this year where they got it done. Go watch that. If you haven't watched it yet, so good.
I gotta go to bed. I was late for work today and yesterday.
Don't be late.
Like,
don't
really late. Like they're like if I'm late tomorrow, they're gonna fire me.
All right. Stay employed. We'll see you later.
Yeah, it's bad.
Peace out, guys. Have a good night.